Hello, hope everybody's doing well today. This is kind of part two, continuum of energy deposit and taking responsibility and self-empowerment is really what my main message is to everybody, is to get you to think for yourself and really decide, does this make sense? Is this how I want to feel? Is this somebody else's stuff I'm carrying? Is this old paradigm, old matrix? Is the way I was raised really truly how I want to be as I am now on my own, or how I want to be as a parent? Because what happens is parents repeat patterns. So I've mentioned in other videos, we live from a physical aspect, fight or flight, keep ourselves alive and safe, and whatever it takes to give you the bare minimums or the basics is what we do. So each generation who gives birth to children immediately take on the responsibility of making sure that that baby is fed, changed, housed, clean, safe from harm, and all those things. And what we forget is we're actually spiritual guardians. We're soul guardians. We agreed before we came down here that we were going to help this soul grow. And also this soul was going to teach us, and we were going to teach them. Because remember, no matter how many times you're the master of something, you are always the student, always. So if you look at life as a lesson of collecting data and analyzing and processing and spitting it back out, or keeping what works for you, that's really what it's all about. So as soon as we get past sort of the protect, feed, nourish, and all that, that's established with the child. They get old enough where they need to take responsibility to put their shoes away and things like that. And if they don't listen to the rules, there is a punishment, there's a consequence. And that can come in many different forms, but the form is always the same emotion: threaten with fear. What do they like the most that's going to get you as the parent in 100% control? So the child grows up figuring out all the different ways that you're going to figure out how to control them. And they're going to either do two things. They're going to be compliant, pretty much compliant, or semi-compliant. And there are those that are going to be very belligerent, and they're going to be like on it full time, just like you are, trying to figure out the opposite to undo all the crap that you're doing to them. And that's how they're going to take it. So whichever child you turned out to be doesn't really matter. There's so many different varieties, but when we get to be an adult, we've got to sit back and actually say, whoa, hold up. What am I carrying here that really belongs to me, that's mine? Or am I repeating habits that I have learned mindlessly or through threats of fear? Okay. So, once we figure all this stuff out, then we turn around and we do it in school. We figure out which teachers are what, which friends in the room are what, which friends are not friends. We get out into the workplace and we start all over again. They have the rules there for us to work there. We're supposed to be working for them. They're paying us to work for them. And they have expectation lists of X, X, and X, and more X, X, and X's. And if you don't follow them, then there's consequences, right? And then we bring all of this also into intimate relationships that we have. And many of us override, honestly, how we truly feel over the habitual way we've been taught to think, feel, and be. And then all of a sudden, somewhere, there's some kind of midlife wake-up call. But the key here is, can we just be awake long before that, before we make it into an acute crisis of some kind? A couple things can occur here. You can do your own inner child work. I'm going to do a video on that. You can look back and say, okay, I didn't really think my parents' dynamics were the best, or maybe I was raised by one or the other. What would I want to emulate? mentor be to my partner, to my children, to my job? If I was the boss, what would I want my workers to be? And of course, as we know, the fast pace of the electronic world, everything's about numbers. So you yourself are irrelevant unless you pull those numbers, right? You don't get accolades or anything else or get on a list or nothing unless you produce those numbers. It's sort of the same thing as applying for a job anymore. Everything's done electronically, so nobody gets to see your personality. A computer literally algorithms words and all kinds of things and spits out, the top couple that maybe this person might want to interview for the criteria that they're looking for. So literally they're looking for something robotic to fit into a cubicle, a desk, a position, and responsibilities that will deliver them the expectations that are required by them as their controlling boss, owner, whatever. So it's always, it's always that same thing of like the threatened consequences, fear, entrapment. You're a slave, or enslaved basically, because you're always under somebody else's thumb, somebody else's rule, somebody else's decisions, somebody else's something that judges you somewhere, whether it's your zip code, the car you drive, the zeros on your yearly salary, what kind of clothes you wear, who you hang out with, etc. All put you in categories. And I get that, and it's painful sometimes, and yet some people make it a competition because they think once they've gotten there, they've made it. But anyone who's got any serious depth about themselves will go, okay, so what am I supposed to feel when I got here? Really no different than you felt before you got there. Now you pick the next level on the escalator of where you want to go in life. What other interesting information and journey do you want to be on? Don't wait till you're in your 60s and are fortunate enough to buy an RV and travel around and just chill, okay? Because that's not how we're supposed to follow this train. We're supposed to break this matrix and know that we are a divine soul living in a physical human vehicle, and the soul wants to drive this vehicle everywhere around, and then the vehicle is responsible for carrying the soul everywhere. So it's a collaboration, a co-creation, and everything else falls into place. So, this also goes back to, they're telling me, my guides are saying, to declaring your freedom and your sovereignty. And you can do that as often as you want with whatever topic that might come up for you. You can do blanket statements, whatever you choose to put. I am free and I am sovereign from all debt, all karmic debt, all spiritual connections to anything and anyone that has me paying them back for anything. I have a blank slate now. What do I want to create? Where do I want to be? I do not want to deny myself the pleasures of exploring this beautiful life. But at the same time, big girl, big boy pants, you got to be responsible for some things, right? We do no harm. But how do we do that and then still have rides up the escalator to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, And that's opening and expanding our consciousness. That doesn't happen to be from going somewhere. That's just your perception of your mind, And it's kind of like with grandparents. They get up to a certain age and then their children are having children. And it's like, Mom, I said they weren't supposed to have any more ice cream. Their bedtime was supposed to be at 8 and you're supposed to do this. And grandparents know that isn't the driving force. It's, did I get to read them a book longer? Did I get to tickle and chase them around the house longer? Did I get to, say prayers or meditate or walk in nature with them longer than being on this, restrictive schedule of, due or consequences? So grandparents, we get it in a little different fashion. Like what really feeds and nurtures the soul versus the clock, the linear clock, that X, X, and X has to be done. That's old paradigm. All right. So it's time to release ourselves from the fear-based threat of constant consequences and testing the boundaries and being under someone else's physical control over how we live our lives. And there's only one way to do that, and that's through your original source, the heart center. The heart center, physical heart, high heart. And that can be ignited and sparked through working with thought, changing those thoughts, changing those habits, those feelings that create all this, and you want to, So hypnosis and past life regression is a surefire way. It's the Panda Express, so to speak. It's like, or was that the Orient Express? I don't remember, whatever the fastest train was. But that's a great avenue and great tools to have to go in there and say, That way you don't repeat patterns. You go in there under your control and pull things out, dust them off, figure out, okay, I want to keep that? Do I want to tweak that? Do I want to dissolve that? It's pretty freaking cool. So anywho, always remember that you have got control of your power dial, your meter, your frequency, your vibration. You have control of that and how you respond to it and with it, and nobody else gets to touch it. So this blame, guilt, shame, got to be under this conformity of what everybody else wants turns your dial all the way down. Then your worthlessness, your all kinds of, really, really dense negative energy that's of low vibration begin to hum too long. And that's really what you want to get in there and so you're not carrying that around anymore. Okay. So my email will be in the description. If you're looking for a session or more information on it, feel free to email me and I can speak with you about it until I figure out how to do my electronics and get a website up. But no more suffering and pain. We didn't come here to carry a cross and to suffer. We didn't come here to conform to doctrines of belief systems that so much of it has been tweaked and controlled to control humanity. All right? So, yeah. Like, subscribe, and share. Leave me a message. Contact me for a session.